Podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Fan Film Boyz Podcast.
Yeah! Welcome to the Fan Film Boyz Podcast. My name is Robert, and once again I'm joined by the awesome, bestest podcast co-host in the world, Dave.
Yeah, that's selling me too much, man. I make mistakes just like anybody else. I am not great. I went on for a very long time about Star Wars in that one episode about Darth Jar Jar. Don't get me talking about Darth Jar Jar. I just go on way too long. It's a rabbit
hole, just like any fan film.
Fan theories are just so interesting to me. Like I said on my own show, like conspiracy theories are also equally interesting to me. So like
the little nuances that somebody can pick up of something like you were talking about with Jar Jar, the little nuances that somebody could say, well, he was doing this at this time, when it was probably just nothing at all to do with what we're talking about, or what was really happening.
Probably just broken animation.
Exactly. But they're like, oh, he was doing this at that time. Right. That means he's really a Sith Lord, or this means he's really the one in charge.
And the same way conspiracy theorists latch on to these facts that prove their theory, their counterculture theory that they have, and ignore other facts that are counter to that, is just, all that stuff is fascinating to me because it takes a special type of person.
Did you ever see Loose Change?
I have.
Yeah, that one to me, I watched it and I was like, I was back home in Australia when all of that happened. I wasn't actually here in the United States when that happened, so that was before my time here. I watched it all happen on TV in a totally different country. So I'm not taking away any of the stuff that happened here, and
right.
I'm not saying that anything in this film was right, but that's a very prime example of somebody that's taken one little thing and turned it into this huge big theory,
right?
That when you look at it, you're kind of like, well, maybe.
So in the same vein that like people can take that one little thing and it turns into a conspiracy theory, you could do that with a fan film. You can take one aspect of something from pop culture, expand upon that one aspect in your own original story, and you got a fan film. And that's far less crazy than a fan theory or a conspiracy theory.
And that leads us and rolls us right into this week's episode. We're going to be talking about a fan film genre that we haven't yet mentioned in the Fan Film Boyz.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Gremlins.
Yeah, and this, as I said, when we did our movie cocktail holiday special, and I did the Gremlin gut smoothie, this is my favorite holiday film. Like, I know a lot of people out there are like, Die Hard. They're all about the Die. I'm all about the fucking gizmo, the Gremlins,
It's just something about it. I mean, it's from our childhood. That's why.
Yeah, and it's shut your brain off humor, man. It's so campy that it's good. I just love every minute of it.
So the fan film that we're going to be talking about tonight is Gremlins Recall. It is an unauthorized, of course, fan film. Has a runtime of over 10 minutes, so not very long. And I did read some things about it. People were like, well, could this be considered a movie or a fan film, or is it like a trailer? I mean, there's aspects that we'll talk about in a moment.
I would say maybe it's a prologue to something larger. Let's say that.
So it has over 174,000 views, 3.5 thousand likes. That equals out to about 2% for those that are doing the math. It was published by Ryan Patrick on December 6, 2017. So it's not that old.
No, it's not.
Now, I would have thought by now it might have had a few more views, because I actually really enjoyed this movie.
So did I.
So, I mean,
right off from the bat, so first off, the infomercial.
Oh, I love that.
Was fantastic, because that is exactly in the same, Chris Columbus vein of the original film and the sequel, more so the sequel with the infomercial.
Yes, like with the with that really smart gremlin that's like talking, almost like the narrator, almost thing through it. Yeah, very similar to that. But it was, again, the premise of this is that it's based quite a bit after the original movie. So it's not based in the time time frame of the same film. It's not the same characters, except of course the
I
Gremlins
took it
themselves.
as this is treating Gremlins like Gremlins happened in the 1980s, and that the Wing Corporation has found a way to perfect Gremlins and do what Peltzer couldn't do and make them the Peltzer family pet.
Yes.
And that's and that's exactly how I took it. And then now it's a contemporary time story of like, this is where we are. And it's kind of following a gremlin hitman, a guy who picks up the bad gremlins.
You know what? I didn't even think about this when I was watching it until the very end. The name of the movie gives it away. Recall. That's what he was. This
Right.
guy was the recall specialist.
Right.
He was collecting the recalled Mogwai
Exactly.
that must have had some sort of a genetic sort of problem. And he kind of mentions this, that they are the ones that, well, let's get into it a bit.
Yeah.
Basically what's happened is this Wing company, this Wing Corporation has developed, from the sound of it, a serum or a vaccination or something that could be given to Mogwai that will stop them from turning into gremlins, so you can keep them as a family pet and
Right.
feed them after midnight, get them wet.
And that's a form of genetic altering, which is something that I used in my own head to explain why the Gremlins and the Mogwais look a little different.
Yep.
Because there's been some genetic modifications going on to them.
Exactly. And so he is basically, well, the premise is, and you see it from the infomercial, they are basically, this Wing Corporation has developed these Mogwai. They're basically delivering them right to your door. It's Christmas time once again. And at first when I was watching it, I was
As
like,
we know, when it starts Christmas.
when I was first watching it, I was
Christmas.
like, why do this at Christmas time again?
Because Gremlins 1 took place during Christmas,
yeah,
man.
but that was my thought of like, it's been done. But then I was thinking, but that's the time when these things are going to be given as gifts.
That's right.
That it then fits in a little bit more for me. So when I did think about it a little bit more of the film in general, not from when I was just starting to watch
And
it.
it's also paying homage to the original taking
Yes,
place during
exactly.
Christmas time as well.
I did get that as well. Yes,
And you get a Christmas gag in there when the one gremlin is hiding inside the Christmas tree and the Christmas
Yep.
tree is shaking and the waitress is kind of like looking behind her. What was that?
So it all takes place in a diner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the premise of it is that this truck basically pulls up at the front of this diner. It's late at night. He's
a usual, clearly. They know him.
Yeah, I got that as well. I don't know how usual, because at one point it almost seems like the lead waitress, not the young girl, she almost seems like she's flirting with him.
Right.
So it was kind of a weird situation, but basically he is, stopped for food at this diner. Like I said, he could be a usual.
With a truck full of Mogwais.
With a truck full of Mogwais that are apparently defective.
Right.
One of the first scenes you see is him walking out of the back of the truck, and he's basically holding this cattle prod. And the young waitress, I believe her name is Claire.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because Deb is the older woman,
Yeah.
Claire's the younger woman.
And she basically is like upset that this guy is tasering.
Cattle pronging,
Yeah,
small,
like Mogwai.
helpless little Mogwai.
And she's like, well, what are you doing? And she's like, not wanting to, give him anything because he's, wanting to give him food or anything like
and
that.
if you remember the offspring of Gizmo, they were all little bastards.
Yeah.
So yeah, go tase those little shits, man.
So he ends up saying, hey, I'm really tired. Can I just park my truck here? And he goes into the truck and falls asleep. She's supposed to be bringing him a milkshake
And fries to go. Yeah.
and fries to go. Basically, she goes out to his truck, sees that he's asleep, takes the little Mogwai that he has, which is named Tink, and she basically falls in love with this.
He's our Gizmo this time
Yeah,
around.
he's the Gizmo.
Now, the thing about Tink was, Tink had a fucked up left eye.
Yeah, there was some things about
Watching the behind the scenes stuff, it looked like the animatronic broke at some point, and they had to basically disassemble it. And like they were asking for super glue, and no one had super glue, and they had to use some other type of glue and stuff like that. So there might be a
They
reason
just roll with it.
the animatronic may have broken at some point, but ultimately the animatronics for a fan film, pretty good. All practical effects. in this.
And we kind of talked about this a little bit with Hunt for Gollum. When we you only very rarely see Golem sometimes in that film. And then there was other times where it was CGI'd. This wasn't CGI. It was practical effects, very similar to the original Gremlins film. So you see the Tink.
Right.
Looks animatronic more than it looks like a puppet.
But it is actually, it's a mixture of the two. The eyes and stuff, I believe, are animatronic, but the movements and stuff, there is a woman, it's in a bag. There's a woman laying under the table controlling it with her hand.
Okay.
Mostly,
yeah. So, I mean, but still very good.
Yeah.
I mean, again, in the vein of the original first movie, basically.
Now, the Gremlins looked completely different, though.
Yes.
A little bit smaller.
They looked.
They had like these
almost
shoulder pads on them, right? Like,
Yeah.
like they almost looked like they tried to make them a little bit more muscular. And like I said, I chalked that up to the genetic difference between these ones and the original ones.
They looked very rubbery. That was the thing for me.
Well, they were
yeah,
silicone.
Yeah, it was like like where you see Tink move around, you know, because she has that animatronics and the puppet.
These were being moved around on poles.
Yeah, on poles. They were very like one sort of not. They didn't have the same amount of movements,
right?
But at the same time, I still enjoyed them.
With the original Gremlins, a lot of those scenes, especially like the faraway shots of them like walking down the street, a lot of that was stop motion animation for back then. So I don't knock it too hard for that. I think going the practical route was the right move.
Oh yeah,
they look a little bit different. However, you know, it's not like they are able to use the molds that they used for, you know, in the original film and stuff like that. So they kind of took the Gremlin concept and kind of like made it their own a little bit in design.
So Claire, who had already previously, from what we'd seen, she'd basically fallen in love with Tink. She basically grabs him out of the cab of this truck while this driver is falling asleep. She goes to the back of the truck. She is, I guess she's drinking his milkshake because he's asleep. She gives the cherry from the milkshake to
little creeper.
To a little creeper that's like reaching his hand out of the window.
Here you go,
Obviously,
you little creeper.
I mean, we see a shot later of the truck, and there's all of these like basically dog crate things in there. But meanwhile, this little Mogwai, I guess he was at the stage, was sticking his hand through the door. So they must have been running loose in the back of this truck. Well, because they're defective, turns out they're basically the same Mogwai from what we know from the first movie, that you can't feed them after midnight, and that one event leads to them creating gremlins that basically go wild in this diner.
Right. Well, 2 Gremlins at first.
Yes.
And she does manage to, because they don't have the same, because they're not immune to the same weaknesses that the other Mogwai are, because they are defective, she is able to use a heat lamp to kill the one and burn the one, while the other one is able to escape from the diner after they killed Deb.
Yeah, so Deb's the only one that really dies in this.
Right. They attack the driver who wakes up and is asking her what happened. And she explained that she gave one of them a cherry. And he said, well, you have no idea what you've just done.
He tells her to sit in the cab, and he has a Glock, and he walks into the diner. He's ready to, and that's where you really see that he is like the cleanup.
He's the recall. He's fucking Emilio Estevez and Repo Man.
Yeah. So his job is to go in, kill these gremlins, clean up the mess.
Right,
take them back to Wing and
transport them for euthanization. But
exactly.
now since the cat's out of the bag, we're gonna have to take them out.
So he goes in, and he's in the kitchen area, and he sees the young girl, and he says, "I told you to stay in the cab," you know. And then there's a gunshot that goes off there's an old Western playing on the TV, and the gremlin shoots him with his own gun.
Yeah.
Shoots him in the shoulder.
Gets his Glock from him and shoots him right in the shoulder after biting him in his shoulder as well.
Yeah.
After the attack. So
exactly. And then you've got the shot that we were talking about earlier where you see the Christmas tree sort of moving around because you know that there's a gremlin in there. That's right before the heat lamp. That's the one that dies in the heat lamp. And basically the story is at the very end, you see 2 gremlin in the cab of that truck driving away to the big city.
Right, because the other gremlin goes with a fire hose to the back of the truck and hoses it down.
There must have been a lot more Mogwai back in there that hadn't gotten loose.
Right.
And the premise is that he's basically creating the whole new breed of, pun intended, I guess, of gremlins to take over the world.
Absolutely.
You see the cab drive away, 2 gremlins drive in this truck and start driving away. She then goes over to him, helps him get up. Basically, he's saying, we need to go to the city. We need to stop this from happening. And
let's kill the motherfuckers.
Yes. And so they get in the car. They get out of this diner.
Now, did you buy her turn at the end? Like, because really her interaction with the Gremlins, her only main interaction with them was her with Tink, and she's fond of Tink. But like, I guess because they killed Deb, she's like, let's just go kill them all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, she.
But I didn't get a love between her and Deb, you know? I got more
I didn't even know if... At one point, I didn't even know... It felt like they might have been related.
It did, yeah.
Because she's talking about, hey, I don't want to keep you here. You know, it's Christmas. I don't want to keep you here, blah, blah, blah. But then she's like, well, but I need you to work.
Right.
You know, I need you to stay here and do this because...
Be a responsible adult.
Yeah, we got somebody that wants a black and white milkshake. You better go, you know, serve that shit. So... There was some things in there that maybe might have needed some more exposition, maybe need a little bit more explanation. But overall, of all the characters, though, I didn't find Claire the best, but she wasn't that bad either.
No, the best character is the guy doing the infomercial in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
But his name was Rob Wood, was the actor.
Because you kind of see him at the end, and he's doing like outtakes and stuff like that. He's just making it fun. It's like really cool. But yeah, no, that infomercial was the best.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just want a fan film of Mogwai on QVC, like infomercials. Home Shopping Network, buy your Mogwai.
So awesome. So again, it was written and directed by Ryan Patrick, who did put it up on YouTube. Produced by Nash Kubero and Sarah Lilly. Now, Sarah Lilly was Deb, so you know, she was actually one of the producers as well. All right, so there was actually a lot written up about this fan film on places like fandom.com. What else do I see it on? Fansided.com. A lot of information written. I actually even saw that it has an IMDb rating.
It does, yes.
6.6 out of 10.
Not terrible.
No, not too bad. Yeah. So you know what?
I think those IMDb ratings need to take into account that these are fan films made by amateurs with very little budget, and they're doing it for passion.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that the IMDb, anybody can get on there if you really have some sort of a, you know, you really want to. It's
you pay
like
the membership.
Yeah, it's basically a Wikipedia almost. You know, you really want to get on there, you're going to be on there. So
you pay the membership, and you're able to edit pages and add yourself in and stuff like that. I don't have an IMDb page, but I've acted in things, but I don't have an IMDb page because I'm a nobody. And I'm only slightly egomaniacal.
Now, what did you think overall of the script itself? I mean, the storyline and everything like that. I mean, did you...
The story I liked.
Yep.
The actual dialogue in the script, though, shit.
Yeah.
Mostly shit.
It was very throwaway, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was... You know, a lot of it, like even down to her line at the end, let's go kill them, and
yeah, that was like I did like though that they got in her jacked up blazer, and he's
she's like, is this your car? Is this your ride?
Yeah, yeah,
like,
it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And like screaming off to the big city. So again, leaves the premise open for possibility of another film down the line.
Right. They do mention Kingston Falls as well, when he says you want another Kingston Falls incident.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I read somewhere as well that this is actually set 30 year. So it does fit right in with our time frame of like it's basically modern time.
This would be about 2014.
Yeah, exactly. Now the acting was great, like I said. Script was great. The camera work I was really impressed by.
Yes.
There was a lot of great shots. The blocking was done really well. Just overall, you know, for a fan film, especially, you know,
when you watch behind the scenes stuff, they have some good. They had professional equipment that they were using. There's a couple dolly shots and stuff like that, which a lot of fan films don't do. But it's actually not hard to build a dolly. You know, you can do those things. So they had some production behind it with the use of professional equipment. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that a lot of this stuff belonged to a university, and they were able to use it to make their fan film and stuff like that. So,
I get what you mean on that. I also see that it's probably people that we've said it before, but people that are trying to hey, it's easy to do a fan film and have somebody notice a Gremlins fan film and then say, oh, well, who made this? Then come up with your own idea, and somebody watching that and like, well, I don't get the premise of it. You're going to get a ready-made audience with a Gremlins fan film than you are with your own creation of the Swamp Monster or something like that.
I've probably said this 100 times, but my love for Gremlins comes from the fact that my dad used to tape everything off of HBO on VHS. There'd be like 3 movies in a row. My dad would just put a VHS in, one of those 6-hour VHSs, and record all 3 of them. And I had Ghostbusters, and on the same VHS was Gremlins. So for me, Ghostbusters ends, and then I immediately have to put in Gremlins to this day, because that's just the way the VHS worked, and that's the way it altered my brain. And it just got me wondering, have we done a Ghostbusters fan film?
I think that's going to be one of our next ones.
We have to now, because that's the way my fucking warped mind works.
The 2 big ones that we have to, the 2 genres that we haven't worked with at all yet is a Ghostbusters, and I know there's a lot, because there's a lot of Ghostbusters clubs out there, and a Doctor Who. I think that's the 2 next ones that we're really going to have to go into.
One I know a lot about, Ghostbusters. The second one I know nothing about. I've never watched an episode of Doctor Who.
See, I've watched Doctor Who. I'm not a big Whovian. I'm not. I know that they're called Whovians, but I'm not a big Whovian. But I know that there's a lot of great fan films out there for it as well. So, I mean, that's definitely going to be coming up in the line. So stay tuned for the future. There's going to be some great ones on that. Just on that right now, there are some big episodes coming up for us. We've got some interviews coming up. I have just finished talking with a writer that actually wrote a book on fan films. And we're going to have more information about it.
And I have finished 3 chapters of that book. I'm hot on my way. I'm getting through that book.
I've been in contact with him. He sent us copies of the books. We're actually going to have him on the show very soon. I've been in contact with him just recently, so we're going to have him very soon. And there's some other great ones coming up as well. We've talked about this on one of our earlier ones with Siren of Dathomir. There's the Star Wars Fan Awards coming up. People should be looking at creating fan films for the Star Wars there. We'd love to be involved if you want to have us involved.
Send us emails, keep you up to date. And of course, if you use my story, I expect a story by credit and a Fan Film Boyz podcast producer's credit.
Exactly. Now let's go back to this.
Yeah, man, what do you want to finger bang this thing?
You know what? I'm going all the way with a 4 with this one.
All right.
You know, I really enjoyed it. The only thing that took it away from me was there was parts of the script that I was like, and the Gremlins on a stick, you know, kind of took it a little bit away. Not a lot. I mean,
I think the design of the Gremlins being a little bit different was jarring. Like I said, I made up my own little theory about why they were different. But also, that was a little knock for me, but not huge. And I think dialogue mainly. Other than that, I think it was pretty fantastic. So I'm right there with you.
I like the premise though. I really like the premise. I like how they did it like 30 years later.
I can't say it enough. I fucking love that infomercial.
Yeah. just want a fan film with just the infomercial. So yeah, that's what.
Where that Mogwai gets a little wet and then starts multiplying.
Yes.
And then
he's spraying it with a spray bottle, you know? It's almost like rude what he's doing. He's like spraying it right in the face, and it's like
he shines the light in its face.
I can feed it. You know,
he chucks the cracker at it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like just having fun at it. I can spray it with a water bottle.
I can bash this thing's face into the table. You can't stop me.
Look, I can smack this thing across the room and it'll bounce right back. But yeah, no. So I'm going to take a moment now. Let's bring in some Podfix Network promos, and we'll be right back.
Greetings and salutations, this is Fuzzy Dan from Who Spiked the Puns. Each week, with the help of some of my special friends from around the internet, we'll be mashing together 2 disparate movies to make something unexpectedly awesome. This is the podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously, because everybody knows fat puns don't fly. Find me now on whospikedthepuns.com or on a podcatcher near you.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I would like to introduce you to a little something I call the Brooke Reading Podcast. Each week, I read and discuss a novel, rate and review it, and tie in any movie or television iterations. If you would like to join in the discussion, you can find the Brooke Reading Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or direct downloads on Libsyn.com. Happy reading!
Hello, all you curious creatures out there. I'm Amber Ray.
And I'm Andrew McKay, and we are the hosts of Into the Portal.
If you like myths, legends, history with a paranormal twist, join us every week as we explore lesser-known mysteries of our world and beyond.
You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and all other major podcast platforms, and at intotheportal.com, your gateway to the bizarre.
The only question is, do you dare peer into the portal?
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Well, nerds, geeks, and newcomers alike, we're the Shake and Not Nerd podcast, where each week we review movies and video games and discuss what's going on in the nerd world. With me, as always, is my co-host, Ian the Huge Footlong Johnson. Hey, babes. The Tom.
Hello there.
And Ollie, also known as Big Red. Hi. And I'm your host, Duty Dutron. And this is us.
About 5 minutes beforehand, I was talking to my friends, being like, if they make me say I love Harvey Norman, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. The second they said, I'm like, I love it, Norman! Fresh it! I'll suck it dick! I'll suck it dick for what it's around!
Pink just released a new album, which apparently is really
Thank
good.
God.
Title purple.
Pink,
No,
right?
two in the. Where can people find us, guys?
Why are you looking at me this time?
Well, I do believe you can find us on any relevant social media outlets.
Or the podcast app of choice.
Oh, there are a lot of good ones. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Shake and Not Nerd.
All right, so we're back, and definitely check out those wonderful podcasts along with all of the other podcasts at podfixnetwork.com. Your podcast, the Super Movie Brothers, is on that. You know what? We haven't done this for a while. Why don't you let people know that are listening to us here at the Fan Film Boys, why don't you talk a little bit about your podcast so that people can actually, you know, if they're not already, where they can follow you and see what's going on there and what your podcast is all about.
You could have just played my promo.
Well, I will play your promo.
Yeah, so Super Movie Brothers Podcast is a podcast where me and Jay are both huge movie fans, but we come from two varying styles of films that we enjoy. We come together to discuss films, film news, and different topics in film. Most of it is modern contemporary stuff, but we do movie homework assignments where I assign Jay a bunch of films that kind of shaped who I am as a film fan, and he assigns me a lot of films that shape him as a film fan. A lot of his are indie darlings and a lot of mine are cult films and stuff like that. So it's a fun dynamic. We also come together with Rob, usually about once a month, to do a movie cocktail episode where we take a film that people have voted on and selected, and we make an original cocktail for it, and then we discuss that film at length while drinking the said cocktail.
Yes, that's always a fun time, that's for sure. I know some of our past ones, we've done shows on Starship Troopers, The Thing, Super Troopers. What else we done? Howard the Duck,
Masters of the Universe. We've done Weird Science.
And we do try to actually...
Jurassic Park.
We try to tie in a fan film episode at the same time as the movie cocktail. So if you have listened to us, obviously, if you are now, you've probably seen where we have been tying in a fan film based on our movie cocktail movie.
Me and Jay just always try to make it funny. So you can find us on iTunes and Podbean, Super Movie Bros, and then you can find us on Twitter at Super Movie Pod. You can also find us on Facebook, Super Movie Brothers Podcast on there. And since me and Jay review beers on the regular show, our Instagram is pretty much now dedicated to our beer reviews. So you can check that out at Super Movie Bros Beer.
Excellent. And you can follow the Fan Film Boys on Podbean at www.fanfilmboys.podbean.com. You can find us on iTunes. Please do rate and review. You can email us, fanfilmboys@gmail.com. We are on Twitter as well, fanfilmboyspod. And always remember that's boys with a Z. And until next time when we have another great movie cocktail tie-in or we talk about another great fan film, good night.
Have a good one.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network. check out more shows like it at oddfixnetwork.com.